What's up, everybody? Today we're breaking down a full mock draft that we ran live just a week before the actual NFL draft goes down. Yeah, you heard that right. We're that close to one of the most exciting weekends of the football calendar, and the energy is through the roof. So, in that live session, each member of the crew got to make their picks, and I had selections at number 6, 37, and 68. Now, if you weren't able to catch the live stream, no worries. You can check the full video in the comments or description. That thumbnail you're seeing on screen? Yep, that's from the live draft session. Today, I'm not only going over my picks and explaining why I made each move, but I'm also diving into the rest of the mock that didn't make it into the live event. A lot of you have been asking for the full rundown, so let's do it. And let me tell you, I've been hyped for this draft for a while now. We're seeing a lot of storylines, a lot of names heating up, and with the draft literally around the corner, there's no better time to get into it. This 2025 draft class has a lot of intriguing talent, and in our mock, we saw names like Cam Ward, Travis Hunter, Abdul Carter, Will Campbell, and Tyler Warren come off the board. Now, most of these picks were pretty much expected, but let me be honest, Warren's selection turned a few heads. He wasn't the kind of guy a lot of people had in mind going into that spot. But here's where it gets even more interesting. The audience vote came into play, and that's how Ashton ended up being the pick. And while I went with that, truth be told, I would have gone a different direction. Maybe some of you already have an idea who I was eyeing. Now, between picks 9 and 16, Shader Sanders definitely stood out. That was a big one. The buzz around him has been real, and seeing him land in that range was no surprise. Then between 17 and 24, the wide receiver run started to take shape. Guys like Luther Burden were getting scooped up, and that kind of made me nervous about what might still be available by round 2. It started to feel like we might miss out on some serious receiving talent. Then we got to the final stretch of the first round, picks 25 through 32. And here's the thing. The Chiefs ended up grabbing a tackle, and personally, I didn't love that move. I know they got issues up front, but I think there were better ways to address them. On the flip side, Jaden Higgins and Troy Amos were taken, and you know those are two guys I've been high on for a while. Solid pickups. As for me, I went with Ashton. That decision came right after Friday's press conference. And let me tell you, there's been a lot of talk about how running backs are being undervalued in today's NFL. But make no mistake, Jenny is legit. He's easily the best back in this class. Any team that picks him is getting a complete player. Not just on the field, but off the field too. I actually got a chance to meet his running backs coach after Boise State's pro day, and I was seriously impressed. Now, let's talk numbers for a second. Jenny put up 374 carries and scored 2,612 touchdowns last season. Insane production. And we're not just talking about a guy who racks up stats. He's a culture guy, the kind you want in your locker room. Look at the Raiders, for example. That backfield has some serious question marks. Yeah, they brought in Raheem Mostert, but beyond that, not a lot of answers. So when you get a chance to grab a guy like Jenny in the draft, that's something you have to consider very seriously. What really got me thinking, though, was a comparison someone made during an interview, likening the situation to what the Eagles did by bringing in Saquon Barkley. That kind of move can shift the entire identity of a team. You want to commit to the run? You bring in a game changer. And that's what this felt like. So now, here's where I want to hear from you. Who would you want to see the Raiders take with that 6th pick? Let me know in the comments, because I'm really curious to hear your thoughts. Now, personally, for me, it came down to two guys, Armanu and Ashton. I'd be happy with either, but I have to admit, running back felt like the bigger need. That said, we've also got holes at wide receiver, cornerback, safety, and linebacker. The silver and black need help across the board. That's why I've been wondering if maybe a trade down could make sense. But for the sake of this mock, I didn't do any trades. I kept it straightforward, just made my picks based on value and fit. So let's talk about round 2, where I had the 37th overall selection. Now, this is where things got interesting. Tyler Booker was still on the board, and I thought that was a great value pick. Remember, earlier I said I was leaning toward Armanu? Well, another guy I had my eye on was Trayvon Henderson, who ended up going to the Cowboys at pick 44. Honestly, there were a lot of solid offensive players sitting there. Donovan Jackson, for instance, was still available, and I was shocked he fell all the way to 48. Some more wide receivers came off the board in this range too, And then Xavier Watts dropped to 56 where the Bills picked him up. That was a steal. Siobhan Revel Jr., who we've talked about plenty of times, and someone the Raiders have already met with, was taken at 57. And Kevin Winston Jr., another safety prospect I really like. Now, the Chiefs took Jalen Newell, which was a gut punch for me, but hey, that's how it goes. As for why I went with Tyler Booker, while I don't necessarily think offensive guard is our biggest need, safety, linebacker, wide receiver, and running back take that honor. I figured if you're drafting a back like Jenny, you better build the wall in front of him too. Booker's got that mean streak you want to guard. He was a captain at Alabama, and pairing him with Jackson Power Johnson could create one of the most dominant interior duos in the league. I mean, I wouldn't want to be a defender facing those two in the fourth quarter of a cold weather game. Just saying. Booker is the number 2 guard in this draft for a reason. He's also ranked inside the top 26 prospects overall. So from a pure talent standpoint, he was the best player on the board. Physically, the guy's a beast, massive frame, powerful anchor, and great hands. He's not the quickest with his feet, and you saw that during the combine, but his leadership and toughness more than make up for it. And I'm convinced the Raiders will eventually extend Kolton Miller. It's not a hot topic right now because the focus is all on the draft, but it's coming. When you line up Kolton Miller, Tyler Booker, and Jackson Power Johnson on that left side, but giving your quarterback time and you're opening lanes for Jenny. That's the kind of setup that wins games in December and January. Now, as far as depth goes, we've got Meredith as a decent backup, Alex Kappa offering flexibility, and then on the right side, DJ Glaze and Dylan Barm round out the line. I debated between Booker and another prospect named Anid, but in the end, I went with Booker because protecting Jenny and opening up the run game was the priority. And that, to me, was a smart, foundational move. More picks are coming up next, but let's take a moment to really appreciate how important it is to build the right core. All right, let's keep it rolling. We stopped after the second round pick, so now it's time to dig into the third round and beyond. This is where things started to get really interesting in the mock draft. When I got to pick number 68, I honestly didn't expect the guy I ended up with to still be available. I was mentally preparing to choose between him and a quarterback I had on my board, but that quarterback ended up getting snatched up just a few spots earlier. It worked out, though, because I was able to take a linebacker who had an insane 136 tackles last season and is considered one of the top defenders at his position in this entire draft class. In my opinion, he's the second best linebacker available, just behind another elite name that went earlier in the mock. This guy brings serious energy to the field. He might not have the prototypical size that teams usually look for, but what he lacks in bulk, he more than makes up for with quickness, smart instincts, and the kind of sideline-to-sideline range that's becoming more and more important in today's game. The scouting reports rave about his ability to diagnose plays, react instantly, and make the tackle. He's a player who always seems to be in the right spot, and that's something you just can't teach. Even though he doesn't have the biggest frame, his motor and coverage ability give him that modern do-it-all linebacker profile. I love this pick. It gave our team a burst of speed and awareness in the middle of the defense, something we've desperately needed. There's a saying in football that linebackers come in pairs, like thunder and lightning. You want one guy who's strong and explosive, and another who's fast and rangy. This player, for us, would be that lightning bolt. I could easily see him lining up next to a more physical presence, forming a balanced duo that can handle the run and the pass equally well. It was one of my favorite picks from the entire mock draft. It felt like one of those rare moments where value, need, and fit all line up perfectly. Now, as we moved out of the third round, I started thinking more strategically about where we still had holes to fill. One of the biggest remaining gaps was at cornerback, but to be honest, the options were drying up. I had my eye on a player out of Kansas State. He's not the tallest corner, but he plays with grit and confidence. There's always a little hesitation when comparing shorter corners to some of the all-time greats, but this guy has that dog in him. He's not backing down from any matchup, and there's real belief that, in the right system, he could thrive in a nickel role. Our coaching staff has shown they know how to develop secondary talent. So if he lands in our hands, I think he'd be used in a way that maximizes what he does best. Going into the fifth round, pick 143 was on the table. I pulled the trigger on a wide receiver, And I know what you're thinking. We needed one way earlier. And you're not wrong. But it's just how the board fell. A lot of the guys I liked at receiver went off earlier than I expected, and I didn't want to force the pick. But this receiver we landed, he's got serious wheels. He's more of a slot guy than a true outside threat. But he brings that quickness and route-running ability you want on third downs and short yardage plays. He reminded me a little bit of a more polished version of another guy some fans were hoping we'd take. The knock on him has been his explosiveness at the top end, but everything else, the hands, the agility, the ability to separate, it's there. Now we roll into the 6th round, and at pick 180, I took a safety. This was another position of need. I remembered this player vaguely from the combine, mostly because he met with our team during that week. I'm not sure how serious the visit was, but he's the type of player you bring in if you're looking for versatility in the secondary. He's more of a strong safety than a free safety, which leaves me still searching for someone to fill that deep coverage role. That said, he's a tone setter. Physical, confident, not afraid to mix it up in a box. He might not be the perfect fit for every scheme, but he brings something we can absolutely use, especially in certain sub-packages. 2 picks later, at number 213, I grabbed a cornerback from a smaller program. What sold me on him wasn't just his film or his stats, although those were impressive too. It was the fact that he had an official visit with us. He posted strong numbers in terms of interceptions and passes defended. And even though he didn't come from Power 5 school, he clearly has the traits to compete at the next level. You never want to get caught up too much in production from lower-tier conferences, but his instincts and timing are what stood out most. He could become one of those hidden gems if given time to develop. And then, with the very next pick, number 215, I selected a nose tackle. This was a move aimed directly at our defensive line depth. We've had a few visits recently with players at that position, and it's clear the front office is thinking about beefing up the interior. This guy isn't flashy, but he does the dirty work. Big body, solid base, knows how to plug gaps and occupy blockers. He's exactly what you want in a rotational piece for your defensive line. He may not be racking up sacks, but he's going to help free up your linebackers and control the trenches. Finally, in the 7th round, pick number 222, I went with an offensive lineman from a small school who had one of the best performances of his life during a key event this offseason. He's versatile, can play multiple spots along the line, and has a frame that's built for the league. What impressed me most was his ability to stay poised under pressure and hold up against top-tier edge talent in drills. He's a bit of a project, no doubt about it, but you want guys like this late in the draft, coachable, tough, and hungry to prove themselves. And just like that, 9 total picks in this mock draft. 1 in the 1st round, 1 in the 2nd, 1 in the 3rd, then another in the 4th, 1 in the 5th, 1 in the 6th, and 3 more in the 7th. That's the full haul. Now I want to know what you think. How would you grade this draft? Give me a number from 1 to 100. Are we talking total win? Or did I miss out on something major? I want to hear from you. Would you have taken someone else at number 6? Was there a better linebacker available at 68? Should I have gone receiver earlier? Drop your thoughts, because this conversation is just getting started. Before we continue, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and give this video a like. Your support helps us keep bringing you the latest updates on our Las Vegas Raiders. And don't be shy. Drop your thoughts on the news in the comments below. In a move that has left fans and analysts alike stunned, the Las Vegas Raiders have pulled off one of the most surprising transactions in recent NFL history by acquiring Buffalo Bills star quarterback Josh Allen. This announcement has sent shockwaves through the NFL community as the Raiders' bold decision shakes up both their roster and the league's quarterback landscape. Allen, who has long been regarded as one of the most dynamic quarterbacks in the league, has spent his entire career with the Buffalo Bills, leading them to multiple playoff appearances and establishing himself as a central figure in the team's resurgence over the past few seasons. Known for his arm strength, mobility, and leadership, Allen had become the face of the Bills franchise, and his departure is a major turning point for both teams involved. The Raiders, who have been on a steady quest to find their long-term quarterback solution, had been in discussions with several quarterbacks during the offseason, but few expected them to land a player of Allen's caliber. While the team had shown flashes of promise with Derek Carr at the helm, a desire for a more explosive and reliable playmaker prompted the front office to make a daring move. Acquiring Allen is seen as a signal of the Raiders' commitment to building a championship-contending team with one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. The trade package that sent Allen to Las Vegas is still under wraps, but sources suggest that it includes a combination of high draft picks and key players, potentially reshaping the Bills' roster in a significant way. The Raiders, on the other hand, have made it clear that they believe Allen is the missing piece to elevate their offense and provide them with the necessary tools to compete for a Super Bowl title in the near future. Fans of both the Raiders and the Bills are grappling with the implications of this trade. Bills fans, who have grown accustomed to Allen's heroics, are faced with the painful reality of losing their star quarterback, while Raiders fans are celebrating the arrival of one of the NFL's brightest young talents. The move adds a new level of excitement to the AFC West, where the Raiders are now poised to challenge teams like the Kansas City Chiefs and the Los Angeles Chargers for dominance. As the offseason progresses, all eyes will be on the Raiders camp to see how Allen adapts to his new environment and how quickly he could develop chemistry with his new teammates. The future of the Buffalo Bills, meanwhile, is now uncertain as they begin the search for their next franchise quarterback. In any case, this trade is set to go down as one of the most shocking and impactful moves in recent NFL history. That's it for this update. If you enjoyed the video and want to stay updated with exclusive news about our Las Vegas Raiders, be sure to subscribe to our channel and hit that like button. We can't wait to hear your thoughts in the comments. See you in the next video.